Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom. It's our literature unit for the month of October. And we've got a young adult novelist that we're going to be talking about today. We're talking about a book or a series of books by this writer we're talking about by the name of Jenny Han, who happens to be a Korean American, but she grew up in the United States. I believe she grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and she's a novelist, and she's been interested in writing for quite some time, but she specializes in young adult fiction or young adult novels, and the one we're going to be talking about today is a trilogy called To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and it's all about a young girl in high school or school, and she has crushes on various boys, and this story is quite complicated, and I had trouble following it myself. I'm not very good following plots of stories if there are lots of people involved and there's romance involved and things like that. So hopefully all of you can figure it out better than I can. So we'll begin our lesson by listening to today's lesson now from top to bottom.
Laura Jean Song Covey is a 16-year-old half-Korean, half-Caucasian girl who lives with her widowed father and two sisters, Margot and Kitty. Their mother passed away 6 years ago, leaving the girls to assist their dad with household chores. Margot, the eldest sister, shoulders much of the responsibility, but she is preparing to leave for university abroad, handing responsibility over to Laura Jean. One precious keepsake that Laura Jean has from her mother is a teal hat box. Over the years, Laura Jean has composed love letters to her crushes, storing them away in this hat box as a way to cope with her feelings. She never intended to send these letters. They were merely a private outlet for her romantic longings. However, her life takes an emotionally charged turn when Margot breaks up with her boyfriend Josh, who lives next door and is one of the boys Laura Jean once harbored feelings for. This leaves Laura Jean in a dilemma. She cares deeply for Josh, but she also respects her sister. Adding to her troubles, Laura Jean has a minor car accident, which brings another old crush, Peter, back into her life. Peter, now dating the popular and possessive Genevieve, once shared a kiss with Laura Jean, making him one of the recipients of her secret letters. In a surprising turn of events, Josh confesses to Laura Jean that he had a crush on her. This leads Laura Jean to pen a postscript to her old letter to him, admitting, "I still love you." Just when she thinks the situation couldn't get any more tangled, her secret letters mysteriously get mailed to each of her crushes. Okay, guys, let's get started. This is day 1 of our literature unit, and we're focused on some young adult books here. Coming-of-age stories, kind of some romances there. Actually, there's a lot of romance in these books. We know that Netflix went on to make a movie about this, and I think they are continuing with this whole thing. We're going to talk about the plot first, and then day 3 will focus more on the author, Jenny Han. So who do we have? Tom said he gets confused with all the characters, so if you can maybe get online and see what some of these actors look like, then you can picture them as you read the book. And I think it'll be easier to follow at that point. We've got the lead character, the protagonist. Her name is Laura Jean Song Covey. She may pronounce this differently. Laura can be spelled different ways. It can be Lara or Laura. And I've heard some people say this Lara. There was a newscaster in New York City when I was there, and she pronounced her name Lara, and I thought that was weird because I had only grown up with Laura. So we chose Laura. You can pick whatever one you want. When it's someone's name, they can pronounce it any way they want to. That's the rule, I think, in America. You can say it however you want to. You just have to make other people follow your pronunciation. She's 16. She's half Korean, half Caucasian or half white. She is a girl who lives with her widowed father. So her mother has passed away. If a man has lost his wife, then he's a widower, which is hard to say, a widower. And if the wife has lost her husband, she's a widow. And she has 2 sisters. And they've got interesting names. Margot is a French name. That's why you don't hear the T. Don't say Margot. No, it's Margot. And then Kitty is like the kitty cat. Yeah, some girls have that name, Kitty. I bet it's a nickname, though.
Yeah, and remember, she's half Korean, half Caucasian. And some people call such a person biracial. They have 2 parents from different races, basically. And, of course, she's got some sisters, and she's got a father there. But their mother passed away 6 years ago. She died, leaving the girls to assist their dad with household chores. So, yes, women in Korean households or any households, of course, have big roles to play. And if she passes away, the chores still need to be done. You still need to cook the food. You need to wash the dishes. You need to sweep and mop the floor. You need to do the laundry, etc., etc. And so the daughters here, they helped their dad with all those household chores because he still needs to go off to work all day long. And, do stuff outside the home there to bring in money. So they all helped each other there. And, of course, different things you do at home or on a farm are called your chores. I don't think the things you do at your office would be called chores because those are your duties as part of your job. But chores are things you do at home because you're just part of the family and these things need to be done.
Yeah, like doing the dishes, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning up your own room. No one likes chores, but we have to do it. You're in a family, and you shouldn't just let your mother or dad take care of all the chores. Kids should help too. I know when I was here a long time ago in Taiwan, kids never did chores. They only studied. But nowadays, it seems like they're trying to teach kids how to help at home too. It makes mom and dad happier if you can help out. Margot is the oldest sister, or here we say the eldest sister. You can use eldest when there were other sisters in the family. So there are 2 girls, actually 3, Margot, Kitty, and Laura Jean. And Margot, because she's the oldest, I'm a jie too in real life. You have to shoulder much of the responsibility. When mom needs help, she always turns to her daughters to help her. And if you're the oldest sister or the eldest sister in the family, you probably have to do a lot of that. I didn't mind. I loved helping mom and working with my mom. So Margot, unfortunately, has lost her mother. So she's got to shoulder much of the responsibility. We use that phrase a lot if you have to take on 重担, you have to take on responsibilities and they're heavy. You shoulder those responsibilities. But now things are going to change for Laura Jean because her oldest sister, Margot, is preparing to leave for university. Says she's going abroad, so she's not staying in her country. And she's going to hand responsibility over to Laura Jean. So it sounds like Laura Jean's the second oldest in her family.
So she has to be in charge of the household chores while Margot heads off to university in another country. And here in the next paragraph it says, one precious keepsake that Laura Jean has from her mother is a teal hat box. Okay, so here we've got a keepsake. That's something you keep, especially in memory of some person, something that you remember that person by. You might have a keepsake from your grandfather or from your grandmother. They gave this thing to you so that you would remember them after they pass away or whatever. And this is a keepsake that she has. It's something that her mother gave her, and it reminds her of her mother. It is a teal hat box. Teal is a color. It's kind of a mix between green and blue.
It's beautiful.
Kind of an aqua color. And this is a hat box, a box that you put hats in.
Teal's one of my favorite colors. I have a couple of dresses that are just teal. I love that. So, yeah, she's got a hat box. We don't have hat boxes much anymore. But they used to wear hats long ago. And you'd keep your hat in your hat box so it didn't get crushed or damaged. So over the years, Laura Jean has composed or written love letters to her crushes. If you have a crush on somebody, you're kind of infatuated for a short time with them. Maybe you don't all fall in love, and want to get married, but you think they're so cute for a while. That's a crush. So if you compose something, you can use this verb to talk about writing letters, like it's used here, but you can also talk about composing music. We compose music. Things that are written are usually okay to use with this verb to compose. Or sometimes we'll say, I wanted to compose myself a little bit before I talk to my teacher. So maybe you're upset or you're worried or something like that. You want to compose yourself, kind of calm down, get your thoughts all, so they're reasonable so that you can talk to somebody about something important. You compose yourself first. Here, though, she's actually using this verb to talk about writing love letters. And then she would store them in this cute little hat box. But why would she do that, Tom?
Well, it's a way to keep them away from other people.
Yeah.
She would cope with her feelings because she had feelings on these boys, but she couldn't really say anything. Maybe she was kind of shy, or she saw that those boys already had girlfriends or whatever. But still, she had these feelings. So if you've ever written a diary, of course, that's a good way to deal with your feelings. And to cope with something just means to deal with something. So she had these feelings. Maybe she couldn't talk to her older sister because her older sister is going overseas, or she doesn't really talk very well with her older sister, so she writes out these letters, she composes them, she organizes them and writes them, and that's the way she can cope with those feelings that she has for these boys.
Yeah, to cope with means you kind of handle something that's difficult. Maybe you have to cope with a lot of homework, you have to cope with your feelings, you have to cope with a difficult sibling, either a brother or a sister who's driving you nuts. Maybe you have to cope with bad health. So if you're coping with something, you're facing it, you're trying to handle it, you're trying to deal with it in a good way. And that's how she's kind of coped with her feelings for these boys she's had crushes on. She never intended or meant to send these letters. They were never going to go to the boys she had crushes on. No. She just wanted to get her thoughts and feelings down on paper and then kind of put them away in this hat box for no one to see.
Exactly, and it says here they were merely a private outlet for her romantic longings. Merely just means only, and here an outlet is just a way to let something go, let it go out. Sometimes we talk about an outlet in a river where the water can flow out. But in this particular case, it's just a way that something can escape or pass through. So yes, indeed, it's an outlet for her romantic longings, her feelings. It's just a way for her to express those feelings and not have them all bottled up inside.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do. If you keep it bottled up inside, one day your feelings will explode. That's not a good thing. Outlet, too, I wanted to mention, is used to talk about a retail store where you might go and get a discount on some brand label. Maybe, what's a good brand label? LV. Let's talk about having an LV outlet. It would be a store that had LV items that maybe had little tiny flaws in them that were even hard to see. They looked perfectly fine to you. But if they weren't perfect, then sometimes those big brand names would sell them at a discount. So that's an outlet too. But here, again, it's just kind of a way to deal with some feelings that you have, a means of expressing your talents, maybe your energy, your emotions. It's a way to deal with those things. Right now, though, guys, we're going to take a quick break, listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天开始要带大家来看一个电影，也是一个小说，当然也是一个故事啦。好啦，其实他之前在 Netflix 好像有这个电影哦，我有查到过，中文翻成《爱的过去进行式》。那么英文呢就出现在我们的 title， 用斜体字有没有？因为印刷体的话，书名啊、诗名啊、电影名称都会用斜体字。To all the boys I've loved before。那这个爱的过去进行式要说这个故事啊，我们就要说故事的时候5个 W 1个 H 嘛，到底是谁呀？什么时间啊？发生什么事啊？它是一个现代的故 故事啦，所以就没有特别讲到什么年代。那我们在说故事情节、电影情节或小说情节的时候，如果是特定一个故事会用过去式，或者是某个人特定过去的经验的时候，某一件事就会用过去式。但如果说是一个作品，它是故事的话，因为可以一直不断重复阅读，所以通常都会用简单现在式这个时态就好了。好，我们来看一下人主角是谁。这个第一个主角出现的是 Lara。 那这个 Lara 呢，她是一个16岁的女生，她是个半韩裔半高加索裔。什么叫高加索裔？没有，就白人啦，就是妈妈是韩国人，爸爸是白人。那这是主角哦，可是他的爸爸也是主角。好，在这个电影里面，在这个故事小说翻成电影。那后来我们看到呢，在第一段第一句，其实啊，它就有一个限定用法关系子句。在 be 动词后面，我们不是看到主角 Lara Jean Song Kaveh 后面 be 动词的 a 16-year-old half Korean half Caucasian girl 先行词有点长，从 a 16-year-old 一直到 girl 这个地方，互道句尾可以左右括号。先有一个限定用法关系子句告诉你女主角 Lara 是谁哦，她就是跟她父亲然后姐姐跟妹妹住在一起。但这个父亲前面有一个 widow 的，就是丧偶啦，就是妈妈过世。那她姐姐叫做 Margot， 妹妹叫做 Kitty， 所以现在已经出现了4个人物咯。那妈妈过世嘛，出现在第2句，其实6年前过世。不过啊，从第2句开始，其实这整篇文章当中啊，如果我们今天要叙述一个小说情节、电影情节，甚至故事的时候，还真的蛮常用到分词构句，而且这个分词构句很常用到的是 and 省略的分词构句。因为我们在讲故事的时候或情节的时候，常常会说哦，早上啊起来啊，然后我就怎么样啊，然后怎样怎么样，然后接着又怎么样。其实最常用的那个连接词是 and， 所以 and 省略之后，后面接下来要接着发生的动作就会直接用动词 ing， 这就是 and 省略的分词构句。句子的简化听起来或读起来会让你觉得好像事件啊、顺序啊、动作很流畅的感觉。所以在第1段第2句有没有看到逗点 6 years ago 逗点之后的 leaving， 其实它还原是 and leaves。 那妈妈就过世啦，然后就留下了 leave 嘛，然后就留下了整个3个姐妹帮助爸爸。然后接着呢就讲到那大姐呢 Margot 当然就一肩扛起这样的责任啊。在第3句很特别哦， shoulder 这个字在这边是动词的用法，就表示一肩扛起的意思。没想到 shoulder 这个肩膀还可以当动词哦。好，那接着呢他一肩扛起，但是他接下来又要读大学了，所以读大学之后呢，当然就会把这个责任就会留给老2咯，就是 Lara。 你看在第1段的第3句abroad leave for university abroad 逗点之后又出现了 ing， 其实中间还是省略了 and。 hand 在这里是动词，就交给另外一个人， hand something over to something。 所以大姐要去读大学，那接下来就把家交给了老2 Lara 咯，又看到了一个 and 省略的分词构句。那当然接下来就看到那 Lara 怎么样呢？有一个很重要的东西，他有一个东西啊，就是他妈妈留给他的一个蓝绿色的帽盒。那这个帽盒呢，里面的放了很多 Lara 写的情书。这情书是写给谁的呢？当然是写给喜欢的人咯，可是不止一个在第2段第2句中间一点的地方，逗点前面的 crush。 如果我们说很喜欢某人，可以说 have a crush on someone， 这个 crush 也有你暗恋很喜欢的对象的意思。逗点之后的 story 我们再把它圈起来，同样也是 and 省略的分词构句。所以在这一句的第一个动词 compose 就是写信嘛，and store， 然后就储存这些信，储存在这个蓝绿色的帽盒里面。那当然这个帽盒呢，它只是收藏起来，这是他自己的一种处理感情的方式，他没有打算要寄出这些信了，只是一种宣泄感情的管道。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's continue with our lesson. We are summarizing the plot of this novel called To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I should mention that the author here probably wrote that title or came up with that title inspired by a famous song sung by Julio Iglesias and Willie Nelson. It came out a long time ago. To all the girls I've loved before. Maybe you've heard that song before. But in this case, we're talking about Laura Jean's song Covey. She's a 16-year-old girl. She's biracial. She lives in a home with her father and two sisters. Her mother passed away some time ago. She has a keepsake from her mother. It's a teal hat box, and she's composed letters to her crushes, to the boys that she has had crushes on, and she does that as a way to cope with her feelings, or those letters are a private outlet for her romantic longings for those boys. Moving on now to the third paragraph, it says, however, her life takes an emotionally charged turn when Margot breaks up with her boyfriend Josh, who lives next door and is one of the boys Laura Jean once harbored feelings for. So, yes, this is a change of things in the plot. The sister, her older sister Margot, actually breaks up with her boyfriend, whose name is Josh, and it just so happens that Laura Jean once had a crush on Josh, and Josh also happens to be their next-door neighbor.
Yes, he does. So when something takes an emotionally charged turn, it just means something dramatic has happened. Oh! And it usually happens in your life or in a movie, or here it happens in a book. And that's when Margot, her oldest sister, breaks up with her boyfriend who's called Josh. Josh lives next door. And not surprisingly, he's one of the boys that Laura Jean once harbored feelings for. You know what a harbor is, right? It's kind of a shelter, a place where something can find refuge. But here, we're just saying, sometimes we use this verb harbor just to mean to keep a thought or a feeling in one's mind. Usually, it's used in a negative way, to harbor hatred towards someone or harbor resentment towards someone. But here, it's not so negative. She just once had or kept those feelings for him inside herself. So remember, her sister broke up with Josh, who Laura Jean once had a crush on.
This does happen sometimes, of course. You might have a crush on your sister or your brother's girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. It might seem a little awkward there, but hey, if you got feelings, you got to go for it. And this leaves Laura Jean in a dilemma. Okay, a dilemma means you have two or more choices, and it's very difficult to decide which one is correct, okay? So, for example, maybe you live on a farm, but you're not very rich, and you have a cow, and you've lived with that cow for many years. It's very close to you. It's very special, but your father says, well, you know, we need to kill the cow in order to make some money. We need to sell it, and so you're faced with a dilemma there. Should we keep the cow and starve, or should we sell it and have some money so we can survive? So, yes, indeed, it's a difficult decision that you have to make, and here Laura Jean is in a dilemma. She doesn't know quite what to do. She doesn't know how to decide. She cares deeply for Josh, but she also respects her sister. So even though her sister just broke up with Josh, still she doesn't want to come out and say, okay, now it's my turn to take over as Josh's girlfriend. That would still probably hurt Margot, even though she just broke up with him.
Right. So you want to be very careful about your sister's feelings, too. So what happens is she has this minor car accident. So if it's minor, she probably had a fender bender. Sometimes we'll describe a car accident like that. No one's really hurt, but you kind of, get dents in your car, a fender bender. So she does have a minor car accident, which brings another old crush, Peter, back into her life. And it's Peter that Netflix kind of focuses on. So Peter comes back into her life. So now she's dealing with her feelings for Josh. Oh, and yeah, the old crush for Peter. Oh, no, what's she going to do now?
Yep, that's another dilemma, all right. So, yes, indeed, now she has two boys to pick from. Josh, who just broke up with her sister, and she's got Peter, whom she had a crush on before, but Peter came back on the scene as a result of this minor car accident. Maybe he was driving the other car. And Peter, however, already has a girlfriend. He's dating Genevieve, who is popular, but she's also possessive. Okay, possessive means, hey, Peter's my boyfriend. I'm not going to share him with anybody. She probably calls him all the time to ask him where he is, why are you there, things like that. So she's very possessive. She doesn't want anybody else to have any kind of relationship with him at all, whether it's friends or whatever.
No.
And, of course, here, Laura Jean happens to have kissed Peter in the past. And, of course, because of that, she is one of the recipients of her secret letters. So sometime in the past, maybe they were having puppy love or something like that, and they actually kissed each other, but they didn't turn into boyfriend or girlfriend after that. But still, it was a romantic experience for her, so she wrote a letter to Peter. Again, those letters are not actually sent to those people. He was a recipient of those secret letters, and he never actually received that letter.
Right. I'm sitting here thinking, ooh, if Genevieve is possessive, meaning you demand someone's total attention and all of their time, she probably doesn't like Peter's guy buddies either. So I would say Laura Jean needs to be careful with Peter. Because someone who's possessive like Genevieve will really come after you if you make a move on her boyfriend. Well, this is getting kind of complicated. And in the final paragraph, it says, in a surprising turn of events, again, something surprising happens. And we use this phrase, in a surprising turn of events. Remember, we used something takes an emotionally charged turn. Again, something surprising happens when you use those phrases. Josh, Margot's old boyfriend, and they broke up, he confesses to Margot's sister, Laura Jean, that he had a crush on her. Ooh, maybe that's why he broke up with Margot, because he actually liked Margot's younger sister, Laura Jean. If you confess something, we use that verb to just talk about admitting something that you've done. Maybe it's a crime that you've committed, or you've done something wrong, or hurt someone's feelings, or stolen something, you have to confess. So you're saying, oh, something happened that was my fault. He confesses, oh, I have a crush on you. What shall I do?
Yep, he admits that he actually likes her, and this leads Laura Jean to pen a postscript to her old letter to him, admitting, I still love you. So remember, she wrote this letter to Josh in the past. Of course, she had a crush on him in the past, but of course she can't send this letter to Josh. It would cause trouble, but still the letter is in her teal hat box, and so she added a postscript, which is something you add to a document that wasn't there originally. So, of course, in letters that we write to people, we often have a PS, postscript. This is something I didn't mention in a letter. I still want to mention it now. So, PS, I still love you. And so there you have it. I guess she has crushes on two guys now.
Well, it hasn't actually said yet that she has a crush on Peter, but if you've seen the Netflix show, you'll notice they spend a lot of time on Peter and Laura Jean. Here it says, when she thinks the situation couldn't get any more tangled, twisted up, confused, that's what tangled is. Our hair often becomes tangled, ladies. Her secret letters in her hat box mysteriously get mailed to each of her crushes. Oh, no. This is awful. You'll have to stay tuned to find out what happens. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
但是呢，故事就有转折了，到了第3段。However， 这个故事的高潮就来了。她的姐姐 Margot 跟 Josh 男朋友分手的时候呢 ，Lara 整个 emotional 这种情绪的一种变化就很大，因为 Josh 其实有被 Lara 所喜欢过，也是暗恋的男生之一啦，所以他就有一点陷入两难，因为其实他跟 Josh 其实还蛮好的，就从小算一起长大，住隔壁嘛，但是他也很尊重姐姐。不过很麻烦的就是因为当时 Lara 刚好有一个车祸，然后结果呢又跟另外一个暗恋过的对象 Peter 就相遇在一起了。好，我们来看一下哦，在第3段这边呢，首先要看的是在第4句的地方， Adding to her troubles， 这里呢，我们看到有一个非限定用法补充说明的关系子句，逗点前面的先行词 a minor car accident， 一个很轻微的一场车祸，逗点之后这场车祸补充说明 which brings another old crush， 就把另外一个暗恋对象带进来了。那 Peter 到底是谁呢？就是接着第5句，也就是他现在呢已经有男女朋友的一个人。那他曾经因为跟 Lara 有亲吻过，所以其实 Lara 就是还蛮喜欢他的。不过接下来的第5句也要特别看一下，因为逗点之后的 making 啊，看起来好像也是一个什么简化的句子，对不对？其实在这里的简化应该是 which makes， 而 which 要特别小心哦，不是逗点前面的这个 Lara Jean 哦，而是前面的整句从 Peter 一直到 Lara Jean 这整件事情。那因为他们之前有曾经亲过嘴，所以就使得 Peter 变成也是一个秘密收信人之一。which makes 这个补充说明的关系子句的简化。那到最后的第4句，当然故事呢就开始有一些转折啦。首先呢，在所有的这些惊讶的这个事情发生过当中呢，这个 Josh 突然居然还跟 Lara 坦诚过他曾经暗恋过他。所以 Lara 怎么做呢？他把这个偷偷写给 Josh 的信当中写了一个 PS， 写了一个附注。好，然后呢，故事当然就要明天再见真章。不过在第4句这边啊，再提醒大家一下，在第4段的第2句逗点之后的 admitting 承认，其实也是 and 连接词省略的一个句子简化哦。第一个动词是 pen 写一个 PS， 写个附注这个动词，逗点 and admits， 然后承认 I still love you to Josh。 好，故事怎么发展？记得明天准时收听，我是安娜，我们明天见。
That's all the time we have for our lesson today, and the plot thickens, as we say, in our next lesson, so please join us then and find out what happens next. Is Laura Jean going to end up with Josh or Peter, or is there going to be more trouble because somebody sent those letters to all of her crushes? You'll have to find out next time. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.